My sister held her baby shower at a luxury restaurant, but I was left without a seat. She mocked, "Why don't you go to that dive across the street?" Mom chimed in, "It's perfect for you." I smiled and said, "I'll go." I left quietly, but when they saw me walk into the pub, their faces went white. Have you ever attended a family event only to realize you were never truly welcome? My sister's baby shower was a picture of perfection held at an upscale restaurant filled with laughter and luxury. But there was one clear detail: there was no seat for me. "Why don't you try that dirty pub across the street?" my sister sneered. "It suits you perfectly," my mother added with a smirk. I didn't argue. I simply smiled. "I'll do that." As I stepped into the pub, their faces went pale. They had no idea who I really was. Sometimes family can feel like the cruelest invitation printed on high-quality paper. Her sister Iris's handwriting was flawless, as always, not a single imperfection, just like her life. Aurora, dressed in a soft gray silk dress, checked her reflection in the restaurant's glass doors. Her makeup was tasteful and understated, and a simple pearl necklace gleamed quietly at her neck, a gift to herself when she opened her first restaurant 10 years ago. Lame Zone, perched on the top floor of the Four Seasons Hotel in Boston, offered a luxurious space with a breathtaking view of the Beacon Hill cityscape. The atmosphere perfectly balanced old Boston tradition with modern sophistication. Aurora understood why this place was chosen. She had heard that her sister, Iris's husband, Sterling Clark, entertained investment banking clients here regularly. "Do you have a reservation, ma'am?" The receptionist glanced at Aurora before she presented the invitation. "The Wilson Clark baby shower." The receptionist gave Aurora a quick appraising look before checking the guest list. Aurora fully understood the meaning behind that glance. She was probably listed as the sister who works at a pub, a 10-year-old lie, or rather, a story her family had fabricated long ago. Dozens of guests had already gathered in the opulent venue. Under the soft glow of the chandelier, women in the latest designer dresses chatted elegantly, champagne glasses in hand. White linens covered the tables, adorned with delicate pastel blue flower arrangements. At the center of it all was Iris, 7 months pregnant, radiating elegance. She wore a high-end maternity dress, and a diamond necklace from her husband, Sterling, sparkled at her throat. Beside her stood their mother, Regina, perfect in her hair and makeup, draped in a luxury brand dress. They were surrounded by members of the Newton Country Club. Regina, a woman who had worked her way up from real estate to socialite status, had high expectations for her daughter's expectations that Iris had met, but Aurora had never quite lived up to. "Well, Aurora, you actually came." Her mother's voice held a hint of surprise, mingled with slight disappointment. That tone had echoed through Aurora's memories countless times. For the past decade, Aurora had only met with them once or twice a year at family events. It had become a mutual choice. Her mother and sister lived in an upscale suburban neighborhood active in the nouveau riche social circles. Aurora, on the other hand, led a quiet life downtown. At least, that's what her family believed. In truth, Aurora was the owner-chef of a high-end restaurant called The Hidden Gem, located in a renovated red brick building in the Beacon Hill district. Her restaurant was beloved by Harvard professors and old-money families alike, though she appeared in the media only under her pseudonym, Chef Liz, and stayed completely off social media. The restaurant's reputation had spread entirely through word of mouth and prestigious gourmet magazines with a constant 3-month waiting list. But her family knew none of this. As Aurora scanned the room, she noticed the place cards arranged on the tables, but couldn't find her name anywhere. She caught sight of Iris's close friends glancing her way, whispering among themselves. They were all from the same private school as Iris and belonged to the same country club. "Is that the sister everyone talks about? She works at a pub, right?" They spoke loud enough for her to hear, and Aurora took a deep breath, her lips curving into a graceful smile. Within her, a quiet confidence had matured over the past 10 years, a confidence that no slanderous whisper could touch. Aurora walked slowly through the venue. The chandelier light cast dancing shadows at her feet. White tablecloths covered the tables with pastel blue centerpieces arranged elegantly. Many of the guests were familiar faces from Newton's social scene. As she passed by, conversations would pause momentarily, then transform into whispers. Those whispers floated through the venue like a breeze. Aurora continued searching for her name card. 10 round tables, each seating 12. Every place had a name card made of high-quality paper, but nowhere could she find the name Aurora Wilson. In one corner of the venue, hotel staff were arranging finger foods, smoked salmon canapes, caviar-topped blinis, truffle-flavored quiche. Aurora noticed slight imperfections in each presentation. A professional's eye never rests. "Aurora, even though you came all this way." Iris approached. Her voice carried false familiarity. "You seem to be having trouble finding your seat." Aurora simply smiled in response. Behind Iris stood her husband Sterling, sizing up Aurora with his investment banker's sharp gaze. "We had a sudden increase in guests, you see." Iris put on an apologetic expression, but her eyes were smiling. "We had to prioritize our important guests." Aurora understood the meaning perfectly. She wasn't an important guest. She could never be one. "But don't worry." Iris's voice brightened as if she just had a brilliant idea. "Why don't you try that dingy pub across the street? That might be more your style." Her words spread through the venue like champagne bubbles. Ripples of laughter spread from the surrounding guests. "Yes." Regina approached with a smug smile. "That would be perfect for you." Aurora took a slow deep breath. 10 years seemed to pass in an instant, and she realized nothing had changed after all. "I'll do that." She smiled gracefully. There was something mysterious in her expression. "Enjoy your baby shower." Aurora left the venue with perfect posture and elegance. Her luxury brand heels clicked quietly against the marble floor. Behind her, her mother and sister laughed triumphantly as new gossip began circulating among the guests. In the hallway, Aurora paused by a window. The Boston cityscape glowed in the evening light. Among the buildings, she could see where her restaurant, the Hidden Gem, stood. Iris and her mother watched Aurora's silhouette through the window, backlit by the setting sun. She radiated an almost divine dignity. Yet to her mother and sister, she appeared as nothing more than a pathetic loser. Aurora started walking toward the elevator. Her steps were a bit lighter than usual because she knew the time for the truth to be revealed was steadily approaching. After retrieving her jacket from the front desk, Aurora left the hotel and crossed the street. Her mother and sister watched with satisfied smiles. However, they didn't yet know that their satisfaction wouldn't last long. As Aurora walked toward the pub across the street, she took out her mobile phone. The screen displayed a message from Michelin inspectors announcing their upcoming visit to her restaurant. A graceful smile played across Aurora's lips. 1 week after the baby shower, Regina was reading the Boston Globe over breakfast as usual. There was a large headline, "The Hidden Gem, Boston's Culinary Treasure." Next to beautiful photographs of the food was the name Chef Liz. "Sterling, look at this article." Iris peered over her husband's shoulder. "The Hidden Gem? Isn't that the impossible-to-book restaurant?" The article continued with a detailed introduction to the restaurant. It described how the renovated red brick building in Beacon Hill housed an exclusive space of just 20 seats decorated with crystal chandeliers and antique furniture. "Even Harvard's president is a regular," Sterling remarked, impressed. "The executives at our bank have been trying to get reservations too, but there's usually a 3-month wait." Regina read the article carefully. Chef Liz had opened this restaurant 10 years ago, quietly but steadily building her reputation with innovative cuisine influenced by her training in France. She had earned 2 Michelin stars and was aiming even higher. "Should we try going?" Iris suggested. "It's such a famous restaurant right in our neighborhood." However, making a reservation proved far from easy. They were told they needed a letter of recommendation, and even then, the recommender had to be a customer approved by the restaurant. "How pretentious," Regina muttered in displeasure. The fact that even they, as nouveau riche, couldn't easily access this restaurant wounded their pride. That afternoon, Regina was shopping in the Beacon Hill area when she happened to pass by the Hidden Gem. The old building softly received the afternoon sunlight. The interior was impossible to see from outside. There, she witnessed an unexpected sight. Aurora stepped out of a luxury car that had stopped in front of the restaurant. Though dressed in her usual simple style, her bearing carried an unfamiliar dignity. Behind Aurora came a renowned artist Regina had seen on television. To her surprise, the artist was speaking to Aurora with the familiarity of an old friend. "Aurora, thank you for another amazing meal. I was moved again today. The honor is mine. Thank you for coming." Regina stopped in her tracks upon hearing this exchange. Aurora's voice carried a confidence and composure she'd never heard before. From inside the restaurant, staff members emerged one after another, bowing deeply to Aurora. Their attitude wasn't that of mere colleagues. It was the behavior shown to a respected leader. "Chef, regarding today's Michelin inspector visit," a man, likely the sous chef, approached Aurora and spoke quietly, his tone respectful. "Yes. Proceed as usual," Aurora replied, her voice remarkably calm and composed. Regina, watching from behind the building, felt a wave of disbelief wash over her. The woman she had just seen entering the Hidden Gem was not the same person she had known, the shameful daughter who had worked at a pub. No, this Aurora was someone entirely different. Once back at home, Regina immediately called Iris. "I saw something unbelievable today." Her voice was filled with excitement. Iris listened, confused by her mother's tone. "I saw Aurora going into the Hidden Gem and she seemed like a regular there." "No. Even more than that." "No way." Iris's voice trembled in disbelief. Together they tried to piece together old memories. Aurora's reserved demeanor, her intentional absence from social circles, and her inexplicable depth of knowledge about cuisine. Slowly, fragmented memories started to make sense. That evening, Iris and Sterling began to dig deeper into the hidden gem. The restaurant's website listed only brief details about Chef Liz's background, with no photos. But the praise was overwhelming on Gourmet magazine and various review sites. Iris found an old Gourmet interview. It says Chef Liz trained at a 3-Michelin-star restaurant in France until 10 years ago. 10 years ago? Sterling pondered. That's when Aurora started pulling away from the family. Iris scrolled through photos from the baby shower on her smartphone. There was one of Aurora's back as she left the venue. Looking at it now, it wasn't the posture of someone defeated at all. It was full of composure, of confidence. Could we have Iris's voice faltered, swallowed by the silence of the room? The next morning, Regina returned to the hidden gem, this time during the early morning preparations. Delivery trucks were unloading premium ingredients one after another. Among them, Aurora could be seen carefully inspecting each one. Dressed in a crisp white chef's coat, she looked like a completely different person, nothing like the daughter Regina had known. The staff worked efficiently under her direction, an unwavering trust evident in their every move. It was a trust that had been built over the course of 10 years. Regina felt her chest tighten with a mixture of guilt and disbelief. The daughter she had once dismissed as a mere pub employee was, in fact, a renowned chef, respected by everyone in her field, and they hadn't noticed this fact for an entire decade. The truth came to light 2 weeks after the baby shower. Taste of Boston, the city's leading gourmet magazine, ran a special feature on the Hidden Gem's 10th anniversary. Aurora's photograph was proudly displayed on the cover, her dignified expression captured as she stood in her kitchen wearing her white chef's coat. The headline read, "The True Face of Chef Liz. The Truth Behind the 2-Michelin-Star Hidden Gem." Iris happened to pick up the magazine in a hospital waiting room. When she saw her sister's photo, she nearly collapsed. The article detailed Aurora's career. After graduating from Boston University 10 years ago, Aurora Wilson trained at prestigious restaurants in France. Upon returning to the U.S., she opened the Hidden Gem, quickly becoming the beloved protégé of legendary chef Jean-Pierre Dubois. The article detailed her brilliant career, her training in France, her experience at 3 Michelin-starred restaurants, and her entrepreneurial success after returning home. Everything had been perfectly planned. The cuisine of Chef Liz, aka Aurora Wilson, is creative, combining classic French techniques with modern arrangements. Her signature dish, Landscape of Memories, beautifully expresses French traditions while using New England ingredients. Iris was so absorbed in the article that she forgot about her prenatal checkup. There was a side of her sister she had never known. Aurora was acclaimed by global gastronomes. The Hidden Gem is consistently booked 3 months in advance. However, this isn't merely about popularity. Aurora Wilson maintains a policy of welcoming only guests who truly understand value. Reservations require letters of recommendation from existing customers. This strict attitude reflects her sincere approach to cuisine. After finishing the article, Iris immediately called her mother, but Regina had already seen the article. She sat in her living room, trembling as she read it over and over. Aurora Wilson's restaurant isn't just a place for fine dining. It's an intersection of art and culture. Harvard professors, artists, writers, they all love this place as their hideaway. The article ended with a quote from Aurora. "In cuisine, what matters isn't superficial decoration but essential value, and I want to share that joy only with those who can understand it." Those words seemed like a quiet protest against her family. That evening, Sterling attended an executive meeting at his investment bank. An unusual expression of anxiety showed on his face. In the conference room, "Is it true that the Hidden Gem's owner chef is your sister-in-law?" The chairman asked with a smirk. "We've been trying to get a reservation for over 6 months without success. Couldn't you do something through your family connection?" Sterling struggled to respond. Having previously explained that his sister-in-law worked at a pub, he couldn't now acknowledge the truth. "I apologize. I'm not familiar with the details." The conference room was filled with a heavy atmosphere. The bank executives' gazes pierced Sterling. Many of them knew that obtaining a reservation at the Hidden Gem had become a status symbol. That night, Regina and Iris met in front of the Hidden Gem. Warm light spilled from the restaurant's windows. Inside, the full restaurant's upper-class guests were enjoying an elegant evening with Aurora's cuisine. "What have we done?" Iris's voice trembled. That day, telling her to go to a pub, Regina was overwhelmed with intense regret as she recalled her past behavior. She had judged her daughter based on superficial values without trying to understand her. And most ironically, Aurora had already established a firm position in the upper-class society they so desperately aspired to join. The next morning, Regina gathered her courage and called the Hidden Gem. When she tried to make a reservation, she received the usual polite response. She was told a letter of recommendation was required. "I am Aurora Wilson's mother." Regina's voice trembled. A moment of silence on the other end. Please wait while I check with the chef. A few minutes later, the call resumed. We apologize, but the chef has requested that you follow the normal reservation procedure. At that moment, Regina understood everything. 10 years of contempt and scorn. She was overwhelmed by the consequences of continuously judging her daughter based on superficial values. Iris felt the same way. Despite being less than a month from her due date, she visited the hidden gem almost daily. All she could do was watch from afar as the aroma of cooking wafted out and satisfied customers came and went. One day, Iris gathered her courage and entered the restaurant. But Aurora was nowhere to be seen. Instead, the sous chef politely but firmly told her, "We apologize, but we are fully booked today. Reservations require a letter of recommendation from existing customers." Just then, Aurora emerged from the kitchen. The sisters' eyes met. Aurora looked at Iris with a calm expression as if looking at a stranger. "Do you have a letter of recommendation, ma'am?" Those words weighed heavier than 10 years of revenge. Iris fled the restaurant in tears. From a distance, she could see the line of luxury cars at the hidden gem. Ironically, the symbol of the world they aspired to was in her sister's hands. Meanwhile, Aurora continued creating perfect dishes as usual. In her heart, there was no longer anger or hatred. Only quiet resignation remained toward her family who couldn't understand true value. A few days later, Regina and Iris found an envelope in their mailbox. A letter written in Aurora's beautiful handwriting on high-quality paper. When opened, it contained a short message. True value lies not in superficial decoration, but in essence. If you are ready to understand that. A month after receiving Aurora's letter, Iris gave birth to a baby girl. A bouquet arrived at the hospital room, its simple elegance standing out among the other lavish flower arrangements. The card simply read, "Congratulations." But Aurora's handwriting was unmistakable. The bouquet from the hidden gem was different where the others were grand and flashy. This one was humble. A simple arrangement incorporating seasonal wildflowers exuded a gentle kindness that seemed to calm the heart of anyone who saw it. It felt like a reflection of Aurora's cuisine itself. "Mom," Iris said, holding her newborn, "what should we do?" Regina gazed out the window silently. She had already called several times, trying to get a reservation at the hidden gem, but each time she was met with polite refusals. Then one day, another letter arrived from Aurora. "If you truly want to understand, why don't you try working at the restaurant?" Starting from the bottom, to understand essence, one must begin with the basics. The proposal hit Regina and Iris like a thunderbolt. Their nouveau riche pride urged an immediate rejection, but they had no other options now. 3 months after giving birth, Iris stood in the hidden gem's kitchen for the first time, not in a pristine white chef's coat, but in a dishwasher's apron. Regina also began working weekends as a dining room assistant. The first few weeks were brutal. Iris's hands grew rough from the unfamiliar hard work, and Regina's feet ached as if they were on poles. But through it all, Aurora showed them no special consideration. "Things of value take time to understand," was all Aurora said to them. But as time passed, they slowly began to change. While washing dishes, Iris started to feel the passion infused into each of Aurora's creations. Regina began to understand the true meaning of hospitality as she watched the delighted expressions of the customers. 6 months later, Iris had her first chance to taste Aurora's cooking. It was during a staff tasting session after a meeting. The moment the dish touched her tongue, tears welled up in Iris's eyes. In that bite, she tasted 10 years of her sister's emotions, all the love and longing Aurora had carried in silence. A year passed and both Regina and Iris had transformed. Regina was formally hired as dining room staff, and Iris became an apprentice cook. Their attitudes and values had shifted remarkably. The glamour of their former social circles no longer held any allure. Instead, they had developed the eyes to recognize true value. Regina began attending psychological counseling to confront the belief she had held for so long. Iris learned cooking from the very basics, gradually developing a sincere approach to her work. One night, after closing, Aurora called them both over. "Starting tomorrow, shall we meet his family?" she asked. Regina and Iris choked back tears at these words. It wasn't just forgiveness. It was the beginning of something much deeper, a new bond formed by people who had learned to understand the essence of things. The following Sunday, the hidden gem opened its doors for a special morning. Though it normally only served dinner, the restaurant was open that day for Regina, Iris, and the 18-year-old baby. Aurora prepared a special brunch for her family, a series of dishes without extravagant decorations, but filled with deep love. The wildflowers on the table mirrored the simplicity of the bouquet that had arrived at the hospital that day. Delicate, unpretentious, but full of warmth. "This is my true feeling," Aurora said, placing a dish before them. "I'm proud that you've learned to see essence rather than appearance." Outside the window, the Boston streets were bathed in the soft glow of morning light. The red brick walls of the hidden gem quietly stood witness to this new chapter in their family's story. It was the dawn of a new beginning, one earned through the understanding of true value. Does success still hold its value if it's overshadowed by prejudice? When the truth is revealed, who is the real loser in this story? Looking back, Aurora's story is more than just a stunning reversal. It is proof of a harsh reality. Those who judge the loudest often understand the least. Regina and Iris once took pride in their social status, yet they were the ones left behind, clinging to the shallow ideals they mistook for true value. They mocked Aurora, but in the end, they stood outside desperately seeking a place in the world she had built from the ground up. The real question is, can forgiveness come easily when wounds have been left to fester for a decade? Aurora didn't seek revenge through cruel words or impulsive actions. She let her unwavering success speak for itself. Now that Regina and Iris must start from scratch, can they ever truly grasp the struggle Aurora endured? Do they even deserve a second chance? This story is a reminder. Never underestimate someone just because they choose silence. True success doesn't need to be flaunted, but when revealed, it can be the most powerful response of all. What do you think? If you were Aurora, would you forgive them or let them experience the same dismissal they once showed you? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more compelling stories.